You suggest if someone was born in India, there's a good chance he'd be a Hindu. What, an 80% chance and 10% chance to be a Muslim and a 1% chance he'd be a Sikh and so forth. So what? What does that have to do with the existence of God directly? It seems to be quite off the subject. What do you...
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's interesting. Let me fill out the thought a little bit more. You were born in the United States, so you believe the things you believe. Where we're born, of course, is a conditioning factor, but it has nothing directly to do with what is ultimately true. It's only a predictor of, if we look at the big numbers, where we're likely to go. So sociology works with big numbers, not with one person.
I agree. I'm often asked, what is my position on the afterlife? I say, I'm for it, of course. Hope it's true. Hope I'm going. But obviously that's completely irrelevant to whether there is an afterlife or not. Whether the pattern of my memories continues on or not is irrelevant to what I want it to be. So that's true. But it is a strong indicator, to me, in any case, as a social scientist, that clearly these things are hugely influenced by our culture and upbringing. Since the concept of God is, well, it's inferential. We have to infer the existence of the deity based on his works and creation and so forth. So we look at stars and galaxies and the universe and the Big Bang and DNA or whatever and say, I infer from that there is a creator. Yes, so while we're inferring things, the process of inference is so subjective and psychological that clearly these things must have some influence.
But is that connected directly to the issue of truth? Because if the argument is that our beliefs are culturally determined, then what you believe was predictable. You went through a cycle. You were brought up in a certain kind of family. You had a certain kind of religious experience later. You reacted, went to atheism, came back to a more comfortable ground of agnosticism. So,
I was a born-again atheist for a while.
I know, and a born-again agnostic now. We know that. We've all Googled you and entertained with that. If you want accurate information, there's Google and there's Wikipedia,
You didn't go to YouTube. Don't look at YouTube. Not good.
But using that logic, then what you say is invalid because your views are simply a product of your own culture. So we should really pay no attention to it. So I'd rather get back to the actual topic of, is there a God? You say, well, who created God? You know what I'm going to say, I think. God never came into being. Okay, God never came into being, so he doesn't. It's only those things that have come into being that require a cause.
Yes, well,
he's outside the system.
Yes.
So what do you?
I think we can agree first on your first point that the fact that we're influenced by our culture doesn't completely determine reality. It's kind of total subjective, postmodern, deconstructionist, blah 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 kind of stuff. Yeah, okay, we can agree on that. But the more we get away from, I think, empirically testable kinds of claims and more into the subjective things. So let's take whether the conservative position on immigration is better than the liberal position on immigration, something like that. Clearly, we're going to have some pretty substantial subjective feelings about that are heavily influenced by our upbringing and so on. Mm-hmm. So I would put the God question more in the realm of a political claim than an empirical testable claim.
It could be. It depends on what aspect of this multifaceted thing we're talking about. You talked about intervention. You'd rather not appeal to supernatural intervention. But if reality was vacant, and we're actually talking about the very beginning of space-time, matter, and energy, it's not exactly an intervention. Intervention is normally in the middle of something.
Yes, so you're just talking about the very, very beginning, not
I
intervening
think that, to me, that's one of the strongest arguments, that there is a God of some kind. You're right, it doesn't prove it's the God of the Bible, but to me, that's a very strong argument,
but you do
far stronger than miracles. And
you do believe he intervenes, or she, or whoever, periodically, right, into the universe, like the resurrection of Jesus. That would be an intervention.
Dr. Shermer, this is Doug's cross-examination.
So we're going to go back. Okay.
Doug, you have 1.5 minutes left, so if there's a question.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if intervention is the right word. Often miracle is defined as the violation of a natural law. I'm not sure that that's exactly what a miracle is, because maybe God can do things that, in a way that we don't understand, that doesn't actually violate the laws. If he wrote the laws, then he doesn't necessarily have to cheat. There could be something else, some other pathway. So what do you say about how the universe came to exist? Do you think it's always existed?
I don't know. And you don't either, because nobody knows.
And what do you think of the argument?
Nobody knows. I'm
Yes.
very comfortable just saying I don't know. It's a really hard problem. It's like on global warming, is it human caused or not? I don't really know. I have some suspicions. I go back and forth. I relook at the data. For me, you don't have to have a final answer. It isn't necessary to do that. And I think in the face of the origins of the universe, there's so little data left over from the Big Bang and whatever could have been before and so forth, multiple bubble universes, who knows?
Time.
I think it's just, humility and just being humble enough to say, you know what, I don't know.
Your time is up, Dr. Shermer.
Okay. Thank you. We'll come back to the multiple universes.
Dr. Shermer, you have 5 minutes now to cross-examine
Okay.
Doug.